I am making this video to combat a generalized misunderstanding of my channel that is mostly rooted in a portion of the audience who, God bless them, enjoy this channel but do not ever read the descriptions and the pinned comments. And so they see music posted by someone called Farya Faraji and they assume Farya Faraji is the creator of this. Some people think that if there's lyrics on the channel, I wrote them. If they're hearing a melody, they think I wrote the melody. If there's vocals, they think I'm doing all the vocals. If there's instrumentation, they think I played the instruments. If they think there's a choice of how the melody was performed, they think I decided how to perform it, etc., etc. It's just the fact that this channel is called Farya Faraji. Unfortunately, for people who don't look past the surface, they just take that Farya Faraji. So it's all Farya Faraji. He's the alpha and omega. Everything is Farya Faraji. My role here is as a curator of this platform, as a producer who seeks out those people, who chooses the talent, who pays them, and who brings them together. People treat me like I'm one of the Avengers when I'm Nick Fury. I'm the guy who put the Avengers together. I'm just the one who organizes the production that leads to the music appearing on this channel. And so a lot of praise gets misplaced, unfortunately. I think what's going on is that we're so inundated with, in the West especially, with these individualistic forms of, the personal expression of the individual artist, that people are unable to view somebody like me as anything other than an artiste in the way that David Bowie or Victor Hugo or some author is. This is his art. Not all art is the expression of the individual personal expression of a tortured artistic genius soul. The reason my music became so successful is simply because my music is just the music of those cultures. When I make epic Byzantine music, it's just modern Greek folk music. Oh, Farya, I love your epic Byzantine music. Well, then you love Greek folk music, because my epic Byzantine music is just Greek folk music. And the same thing applies to everything else. You like my Armenian music, it's not my Armenian music. You like my Celtic music, it's not my Celtic music. You like my, well, Iranian doesn't count because I am Iranian. So in this case, I am an authentic member of that tradition. When it comes to the other compositions, however, everything else outside of my own cultures that I'm familiar with, they're not my music. They're music of those cultures that happen to be hosted on my channel. And I think this is the primary misunderstanding that I want to correct. I'm making this video to redirect the praise where it should go. People should praise first and foremost the colleagues that I work with who actually perform and create the music in a meaningful sense. I just gathered them. But secondly, the praise also belongs, to the dozens of generations of those cultures who crystallized this sound over the years. You have to give the credit to the Cretans and to the people from Karpathos or whatever, to the natives of that culture itself. So musicologically and anthropologically, the praise that I'm receiving is unacceptable, and ethically I cannot accept it because I'm not going to take credit for the sounds of other cultures that I simply am hosting on this channel. The channel is named after me does not mean that everything that people hear comes from me. And this, of course, has another aspect. So there's unearned praise that comes with this misconception, but there's also unearned negativity that comes with it. See, the moment people assume that I make all the music, then all sorts of criticism start being thrown my way because they assume that the music is inauthentic. Not because they can hear inauthenticity, but because they assume it's there because they mistakenly believe that I'm the one who generates the music. There's this very interesting research that's been done where they recorded a white American woman talking, and they gave that recording to two different groups. The first group, they said, here's a recording and here's who spoke the recording, and they showed a picture of the person who spoke it, which was a white American woman. And then they gave this recording to another group, but in this group they gave them the same recording, same white woman who was speaking, but they instead showed the picture of an Asian woman instead. And they said, that's who's talking. They lied to the second group. They claimed it's an Asian talking when it actually wasn't. Then they asked for the reactions to the recording, and the reactions of the first people was, like, or were we supposed to have noticed something? But the reaction of the second people, of the second group was, yeah, you can hear there's an accent. It was a little bit difficult to pick up what she was saying. They were literally imagining that they had a harder time understanding what she was saying because they had been told that it was an Asian woman who spoke it and not an American woman, even though objectively it was actually an American woman speaking. Our brains are great at playing tricks on us, and if you're no good at all at accent detection to begin with, then the only reference point you have for coming to a conclusion about an accent is who you think spoke the language.
Browsing your music to assess your own handling of foreign cultures. And I must say I did chuckle at the thick Persian accent and Persian vocal style on the Apira song in this. It sounds very lovely and you're a gifted musician, just not as different as the people you criticize for being inauthentic as you think you are.
It's funny because I didn't sing it. It was Dimitris Athanasopoulos who sang it.
Came here from the Orientalist video and wanted to see how you manage other cultures. After all, you're so keen to criticize how other musicians deal with exotic cultures than theirs. And yeah, the way you play the lyre sounds totally Iranian. It sounds nothing like Greek styles. Learn other cultures yourself before calling out others.
Very interesting, because I didn't play the lira. Dimitrios Dallas did. You wouldn't believe how many comical exchanges I've had, with people in the comments going like, oh, Farya, I appreciate your attempts at representing Greek culture, but that's not exactly the instruments that an actual Greek would have chosen. I'm like, that's interesting, because I just asked my Greek friends, Dimitris Dallas, and he told me, use those instruments, and I just based myself on all of the recordings of this song that all use this set of instruments. Or I'll have people saying, oh, I appreciate Farya, the Serbian song that you wrote, but the melody doesn't quite feel Serbian. We can tell that there's a Persian flair to it. I'm like, that's interesting, because the melody's not mine. I just took the notes from two different folk songs in Serbia, but sure, there's a Persian flair to them. Last year, I posted Duma Rycerska, which is a Polish song, and then some Polish woman says, very interesting experiment to have Polish lyrics with a Persian melody. And I'm like, it's a 17th century Polish melody. I didn't write this. She just assumes that it's a Persian. First off, anybody who knows what Persian music sounds like knows that this is not what Persian music melodies sound like. But she just assumes it's a Persian melody because, well, Persian name, so the melody must be Persian, I guess. Because a lot of people lack musicological knowledge, they just assume that the music must be wrong because they're going off of the false, incorrect premise that I'm the one making all the music, that I'm the one determining how the instruments are played, that I'm the one determining what the melodies are, that I'm the one determining how, which instruments are chosen and everything. And so they go around on places like Reddit and everything, and they write, oh, the music is not quite accurate. And they think that they're bringing nuance, and like remind people, sure, like this Iranian may understand other cultures, but of course it can never be as accurate as the people from those cultures. But by doing this, by presenting the songs on this channel as like that, they are doing the actual people who made those songs dirty. They are presenting pieces of music that are very much the product of people from those cultures as inaccurate. That's kind of crazy to me. Pieces of music that are accurate because they're made by people from those cultures, they are passing them off as inaccurate renditions by an Iranian who's failing to achieve authenticity because he's overreaching into a foreign culture that he doesn't understand. They're doing those people dirty. They're doing my colleagues and coworkers dirty, which is kind of like where I take this seriously. And you might say, well, why does it matter to you that they write on Reddit? Like, why do you take Reddit seriously? And the problem is I have to, because nowadays Google AI search engines take what Redditors have to say and they present that as fact to people who do searches. I'm not kidding. Google's sources now for questions that you ask are going to include Reddit. Whatever people say about a subject on Reddit, Google will just take that as fact and present it to you. And so I recently lost a job on a project because the people basically, they started like looking into me to make sure that I'm, reliable. And they said, oh my God, Google AI searches say that you're inaccurate. And I was like, well, why do they say that? And I look at the Reddit post and I'm like, those Redditors have no idea what they're talking about. But they just went with the AI search results and I lost a job. I lost a gig over it Thankfully, I got it back because I explained to them, I broke down the arguments of the Redditors and explained to them, this makes no sense. They say the melody has a Persian flair. It's literally like a melody from that culture. I did not make the melody, and etc., etc. I'll give you another example. I create historically informed renditions of, or approximations at least, because you can't really, recreate ancient music, but you can approximate it, of French medieval music. And most people know that languages change over time. Most people know that languages do not stay the same, but a surprising number of people actually don't realize that. So when they click on a medieval song, they expect to understand, like, the French, and if they don't understand the French, they're confused. They're like, why does it sound different? I've had quite a few comments over the years of people click on my French medieval songs and saying, what the fuck is this pronunciation? I can't understand anything. You should get an actual French speaker. Like, this doesn't sound right at all. You'd be surprised how many people actually think like that. And there was a forum somewhere where somebody asked, what do you feel about Farya Faraji's culture? Again, see, Farya Faraji's. And then some doofus comes out and he's like, oh my God, the guy, do not rely on that guy. He's a complete hack. I am French, and I clicked on one of his French medieval songs. I literally could not understand what he was saying. He was rolling his R's. He doesn't even know how to pronounce French correctly. And then I went into the lyrics, and the lyrics that he wrote are all garbled. I can't even understand. You can't even make sense of it. That's not how you conjugate those. The guy thought that I wrote the lyrics. So he was dealing with old French from the Middle Ages, and he couldn't recognize them as modern French. And he's so ignorant that he didn't know that, medieval French is different from modern French. And that goes into Google AI search engine. So now some people, who search about me, if they're unlucky and like whatever random sort of iteration the AI gives them this time is going to be referencing that post. And so sometimes you have posts saying Farya Faraji has been criticized by French critics for mismanaging their culture and misrepresenting their culture because he creates works in a pseudo-garbled French and has no regard for the actual French language, and he pronounces it wrong and writes incorrect lyrics. All of that because it is just going off of the erroneous interpretation of somebody who saw old French from the 1100s, saw that it doesn't look like modern French, and went, oh, well, it's that guy Farya Faraji who just wrote garbled French that he doesn't know how to pronounce correctly. For those of you who follow the channel closely, you know that I have started doing the Epic Conversations series where I invite experts from different fields to talk about their expertise, which is just an extrapolation of what I was already doing. All I'm doing anyway is working with experts, so might as well hear their thoughts on it. And recently I contacted somebody, and that person politely turned me down. They said, sorry, I'm not interested. I said, okay, fine, whatever. But the world of musicology is a small world. Ethnomusicology, music history, there's not many people in it. That's the people that I hang out with, that I spend time with. So inevitably I know like 10 people who know that person. One of them sent me an email recently. He said, hey, Farya, I talked to this person recently and your subject came up, and he told me that he turned you down because he did searches about you and he saw that you're just some not very serious person who does like vibes-based misrepresentation of the cultures. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, he looked at Google and Google says that you produce Orientalist music. I was like, I produce what? If you type, Farya Faraji's cultural accuracy, this is what Google is going to tell you.
Some critics argue that Farya Faraji's music can be stereotypical or Orientalist in its aim to evoke a specific cultural vibe rather than present an accurate historical or cultural representation. While his music can be cinematic and epic, it often draws on and caters to a Western audience's preconceived, often limited, stereotypes of what Middle Eastern or other cultures should sound like. Orientalism. Faraji's work is often described as a form of Orientalism, which is the Western creation of a fictionalized and exoticized version of the East based on stereotypes rather than reality. It creates a vague vibe or epic sound rather than an authentic reflection of any specific culture. Vicious cycle of stereotypes. The criticism is that his music can be seen as part of a feedback loop that reinforces warped expectations of how other cultures sound, appealing to what Westerners believe Middle Eastern music sounds like rather than what it actually is.
Google's AI search engines are so fucking broken that they are rephrasing literally word for word the analyses that I have made criticizing Orientalist music, but because these AI models are so fucking stupid, they're like, Farya Faraji said those things, Farya Faraji, that's what Farya Faraji is doing. That's what's happening, basically. Everything in his noise states that Farya Faraji's music are utter caricatures of Middle Eastern music. Everything is Noise is a site that interviewed me, and the utter caricature quote is something that I said about other people's music.
Farya Faraji uses throat singing in some of his Viking music compositions, which has sparked debate about historical authenticity and cultural appropriation. Critics point out that there is no direct evidence of historical Norse people using throat singing, and that its inclusion is a stylistic choice rather than a historically accurate representation of ancient Nordic musical practices. Some audiences misinterpret these compositions, believing that throat singing was an actual Norse tradition, a misconception amplified by Faraji's music.
So AI search engines are really flawed because they will use as reference whatever some random people with no knowledge of subject whatsoever will have to say about a song that I post, and Google will just use that and present that as critics have criticized, the inaccuracies, and they just, and they do that. And as long as a lot of people keep thinking that I'm the one who decides what the music sounds like on this channel, it's just continue spiraling, and if Google doesn't make its AI search engines better, then for the foreseeable future, I may be in a position where I'm going to lose more jobs, I'm going to lose more gigs, I'm going to have my professional reputation and the reputation of this channel and the people who work with me continuously besmirched and destroyed until, those AI search engines get better. So in the meanwhile, I'm making this video to really stress the fact that this channel is a collaborative effort rooted in working very closely with people from that tradition who are the ones who determine what the arrangement ought to sound like. Now, there are two questions that will naturally arise here, and I have to address them. Some people will ask, well, if you don't want people to overinflate your importance on the channel, first, why don't you change the name of the channel? Well, the reason why is because if I do, I've talked to a lot of people who are YouTubers, about people who know about the algorithm and everything, and they said that it's not a good idea. You'll lose views and everything, and you'll go down in the algorithm. The reason I can do this, the reason I can bring to you the most wonderfully, authentically performed traditional folk historical music by actual masters of their craft is because I have to pay those people. And if the views go down, and that's probably what would happen if I were to change the name of the channel, people would be like, oh my God, where's the Farya Faraji? Unfortunately, at this point, Farya Faraji, the name, has become the brand of the channel, and everybody I've talked to told me, do not change the name of the channel, or, views are going to go down and everything. Secondly, people will ask inevitably, well, if you don't want people to overinflate your importance, why do you sing most of the songs, and why do you appear in the music videos? Why do you put yourself out there visually? Because clearly you want people to see you, and it looks like it's about you and everything when you're appearing in the music videos. Well, not quite, no. So the reason I sing most of the songs is because I cannot afford to do otherwise. I only have enough money to pay for the instrumentals, not to pay also for vocals. And there's a technical reason behind this. Most songs, it's like the melody repeats itself. So if the song is 4 minutes, I only need the instrumentalists to record 1 minute for me, because then, the chorus and the bridge, they repeat themselves. It's the same melody for the whole 4 minutes. The problem is not for the vocals. Yes, the vocals will be singing the same melody over and over again, but not the same lyrics, right? Every verse, the lyrics change. So, when it comes to a 4-minute song, I can afford to pay a musician only for 1 minute of it and then just loop. But I can't do that with vocals. I would need to pay them for the whole 4 minutes. That can go up to $600 for a single song to get other vocalists to perform it. And, I can't do that for every upload, every 3 days. I genuinely don't have enough money for this. Maybe in 10 years, if the channel goes to 2 million subscribers and I get that much ad revenue, maybe. But right now it's completely unrealistic to expect that. Unfortunately, I have to sing everything with my mediocre fucking voice. I don't like that. I would love to have actual masters of their craft vocalists on every single song. I cannot afford that currently, unfortunately. When it comes to the whole music video thing, why do you put yourself visually in the music videos? It's not a thing of, oh, look at me, I want people to see Farya Faraji. Well, I want people to see Farya Faraji, but not in the sense that people think, not in the celebrity sense. How often do you see the same person singing an Islamic hymn, and then a Christian hymn, and then a Jewish song,
and then an Albanian song, and then tomorrow next upload a Greek song, and then a Serbian song, and then a Turkish song, and all of them, he performs those songs with the same level of reverence and respect and research for the pronunciation and everything. Not very often. It's not very often that you'll find the same person having sung in 30 different cultures that all want to genocide the hell out of each other. There's something almost transcendent about it. There's something that's very sort of, it transcends the sort of cold, calculated world of just pure anthropology and data and research. And it becomes about a message of our unity as human beings. The core of the channel is a message of, we can all recognize the intrinsic beauty in each other's cultures. For those of you who have seen the ending of the Orientalist Part 2 video, I've had somebody who was a literal white supremacist who told me, like, I used to fucking hate brown people and everything. And then I discovered you through an American song. And then I found you, singing Iranian music. And I was like, oh shit, that sounds nice. And now the guy is learning Persian and learning to play Iranian music. It puts people in a position of like trust, if you will, because if it's just like a Serbian singing a song about like the Haiduks, who used to fight against the Ottoman Empire, like this Turk can't be sure that there's no hatred, like maybe this guy fucking hates Turks. But if it's, somebody who doesn't have a dog in this fight, if it's an Iranian who they know loves Turkish culture, they have an easier time being sure that, well, I know he doesn't hate us. So when he's singing a Serbian song, I'm more open to listening to it because it's already been established that this guy has a lot of respect for us. There's a potency to the same person appearing in the visuals of songs from many, many different cultures. And that, I think, is the most important aspect of my channel, ultimately, beyond the anthropology, beyond sort of the cold documentation and everything. The same person, that face, that voice appearing in so many different cultures has a unifying factor that a lot of people have, noticed, have commented on, that this channel brings people together, unites people. So yes, I do make a point of appearing in the music videos, and I understand why some people may think that it's like a narcissistic kind of celebrity thing, but that's really not what it's about. For me, what it's about is the same person doing all those different cultures and everything. It has a quality of a message of kumbaya, we are all one and everything. Now let's talk about the real heroes of this channel, the collaborators, the experts, the people from the actual cultures that make the music of those cultures come to life. Mina Cristiana, she is my collaborator on Lelice Seftica. We are going to work on some more projects soon because she is Aruman. She's Romanian by nationality, but she's ethnically Aromanian. The Aromanians are another Romance-speaking group of the Balkans, but they're not the exact same as the Romanians. They speak a closely related language that's not the same. In the same vein of, let's say, the Catalans are not Castilians, and they speak a related but different language. And she's from the Aromanian ethnicity, who have many different styles of music. Many of them belong to the broader corpus of that epirotic kind of polyphony, so that region of the Balkans that have pentatonic melodies and everything, and this very recognizable sort of sound. So we really want to bring more attention to Aromanian music, but currently she also has a channel where she uses that channel to host podcasts with members of the Orthodox Church, but primarily from the point of view of Byzantine chant. She's very, very passionate, like I am, about the art of Byzantine chant, and we are working on a project, a documentary, of which I will be the narrator, that we will be shooting very soon in the Balkans, in order to hopefully bring more awareness and attention to it. And she also organizes events with Byzantine choirs, organizes Byzantine concerts and everything. So, definitely an important figure in the Balkans when it comes to the world of Byzantine music and Byzantine chant, and I'm very glad to have her as a colleague. Vishnegwari Vias, likewise, I'm planning more collaborations with her. We did one collaboration so far, which is a Kalingatuparani. I think it's a hard name to pronounce. It's a part of the Epic Indian series. The Epic Indian series is about showcasing the beauty of the modern Indian
traditional sounds. And this one was of the Tamil culture, the Tamil civilization. So the Tamils are one of the southern Indian peoples, and they have one of the most important, truly glorious civilizations in the history of Indian civilization as a whole. Theirs is one of the oldest literary languages. Tamil is very much up there with, like, you know, Latin, Greek, Persian, Arabic, like those languages that have like such a very rich, strong literary corpus. And there's this poem from the Middle Ages, if I'm not wrong, that describes war. And so I gave her that poem. She is not only a musician of the Carnatic style of music, so Carnatic is the classical southern styles of Indian music, as opposed to Hindustani, which are the northern ones, but she's part of the southern traditions. She's not only that, she's also an ethnomusicologist herself and an anthropologist herself, so she was the perfect pick for that project. So I took that poem and I give it to her, and I tell her, I want you to compose music that fits this poem, basically. You compose the music, you sing it, and I just put it in the music. And she also detailed for me the process, which I put in the description, the pinned comment of that video, of why she chose the mode that she did, because in the Carnatic musical idiom, this mode is the one that best fits themes of valor and courage and everything. And it might not sound warlike and courageous and valorous to us. I made an entire video about that. What does war music sound like? It depends on the culture. Some cultures' war music sounds like love music to us, etc., etc. I worked with a Tamil rapper to perform the poem just as like the scansion, and then the instrumentation was handled by South Indian musicians. Ido Romano, an exceedingly talented maqam musician who specializes in Ottoman classical music. Now, he's not just a player, he's a maqam specialist. He really understands the language, the maqamic Ottoman classical Turkish music theory very well, and can apply it in practice. And this is something very important. When you're dealing with musicians from a certain culture, you're not just dealing with musicians, you are dealing with specialists of the musical language. They don't just play instruments, they speak the musical language fluently. And so whatever I give them, they're able to articulate it with the linguistic fluency. Think of, you give them a sentence in a certain language, because they speak that language fluently, they can articulate that language and say it with the authentic reality that they have studied. So many collaborations at this point together. He plays so many different instruments, the balama, tanbur, oud, and basically brought that specialty and that specialization and expertise. Dimitris Athanasopoulos, he might be the collaborator whose work is probably the most well known on this channel, because he's the one who recorded the bagpipe on Belisarius, among other projects that we did together. And to give you an idea of, once again, the collaborative nature of this channel, with Belisarius, I wanted to assemble a project that carries within it the DNA, the anthropological, musicological DNA of different realities that surround sort of Belisarius's thematic reality, if you will. On the one hand, I wanted the instrumentation to be representative of modern Cycladic Greek music. I wanted that flavor. I wanted the rhythms to also be Cycladic, Islander, modern Greek island music, but I wanted the actual main melody to be rooted in the melodic formulas of Old Roman chant. Old Roman chant is believed by many musicologists, if I'm not wrong, to be the predecessor, the common ancestor of both Byzantine and Gregorian chant. In its delivery, in its performance style, vocally speaking, it was closer to Byzantine chant, probably not the exact same, but pretty much everybody agrees that it had a Byzantine-esque kind of quality to it, all those florid ornamentations and everything. But the melodies were very different. So old Roman melodies have a certain characteristic to them, have a sound to them that is not quite like that of modern Byzantine chant. So what I did with Belisarius is I took old Roman chants and I basically took like two different melodies, took the first half of one, took the second half of the other, which is a process that happens all the time in historical music. So many of the songs that we now know that have come down from history to us are like taking the first half and the second half of two different songs and putting them together. And I had just changed one or two notes here and there. And I gave this to Dimitris to play it on the tsambuna, which is the bagpipe of the Aegean Islands in Greece. And what I told him was, this melody that I gave to you, you can change the melody itself. Not just like, of course you can ornament it however you want. Like whenever I give a melody to a musician, I don't tell them how to play it. They do whatever ornamentation, whatever articulation, they play it however the fuck they want. Every single time, you know, at the first time we work together, they're like, well, don't you have a certain vision? I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. I don't have a vision. I want you to, whatever cultural instinct you have that you grew up with, that authentic language that you carry with yourself, I want you to just infuse the melody with that. But also, not only that, I want you to change the melody if you feel like it would make it even more accurate. And so I know that it didn't go exactly dun da da dun da 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 da. Like some of the notes were different, and he changed around like 2-3 notes basically to better fit what he felt would be more authentic to like Greek island music, so that he could play it even more, so that it would be even more compatible with the tsambuna. The melodies that you hear on this channel, most of them are pre-existing melodies that I did not write at all. And those that are not pre-existing melodies, they're still pre-existing melodies, just rearranged. All of the original compositions where I'm writing the melodies, I'm taking pre-existing melodic formulas, which basically means I'll take like 30% of that melody and then 30% of that other melody and squish them together to create a new melody, which, by the way, how folk melodies are always created. And this is why whenever I sent every single time I send original melodies to people of a certain culture, their first reaction is, oh, that's very familiar, because I literally just copied melodic passages and formulas from Cretan dance songs. Michael Bernier, amazing fiddler. This guy's amazing. Fellow Canadian. He's a fiddler, one of the great fiddlers of our country. It's such an honor for me to be able to represent the music of my country with one of the greatest fiddlers of my country. I am deeply passionate about our folk music. I think that our folk music here in Canada is extremely underrated. People really don't know about it, and I really want to use my platform, especially French-Canadian music. I'm biased, I'm Québécois myself, so Québécois and French-Canadian music as a whole is the one that I really want to bring more attention towards. And every single time, again, he says like, oh, you know, what he does is I send him the songs, like the mixes, and I said, just play through, just do one, like play through the violin. And every time he's like, well, I tried a few different things, and if you like only that part, you can just like mix. Every single time he sends me the fiddle, I just take the file that he sent me, and I just put it over the song, and I send that to YouTube. I'm like, there's no way, the arrogance I would have to even touch what this guy is doing with the violin. The idea that I would cut or modify or remove anything that he did is blasphemy as far as I'm concerned.
Next, we have Anya Vasilchenko. Anya Vasilchenko is one of my most frequent collaborators on this channel since last year. We have done many collaborations because she's basically the house viol player on this channel. She plays the viol. The viol is a late medieval instrument. It had a 200-year lifespan, thereabouts. It emerges around the 1300s and dies out by the mid-1500s, I want to say. But during that short lifespan, it was a very important part of the musical inventory of Western Europe. It's a bowed instrument that is quite similar in shape and playing style, especially the holding style, to the modern violin. Instruments before that, the earlier bowed instruments of the Middle Ages were mostly of the rebec kind, these sort of pear-shaped kinds of bowed instruments that were operative across Europe after they made their way to Europe through the Byzantine empires, Byzantine lira. She can play by ear completely, which is a very important thing of collaborating with me. Like I can't, like, if you need a sheet of paper, that's not gonna work. Like, that's not the kind of music we're doing. We're not doing modern classical music. We're doing folk and traditional music. It was always by ear, and thankfully she can play by ear whatever melody I send her. Amazing instrument, and I'm just so glad to be able to have the sound of the viol and her expertise as a medieval musician on this channel.
Stefanos Grassopoulos, Greek, who plays ancient Greek instruments, including the avlos. He's the house avlos player on this channel. I found on YouTube, holy shit, a Greek who literally plays those instruments. Because you have to understand, these are exceedingly hard instruments to play, and they're very rare. I mean, you know, there might be, I would be surprised if there's more than 3,000 people who play those instruments. And so I'm just so happy to be able to have his expertise here. I'll give him these basic motifs, these melodies that are all sort of, you know, extracted from pre-existing folk songs, where I take some of the notes and, you know, I stitch them with other folk melodies and everything. Again, the exact same process by which most folk songs were created in the first place. And then I give them that authentic, I give him that authentic traditional melodic DNA that I just took as is from pre-existing cultures, and I give it to him and do your thing. Once again, I never tell them how to play. I don't tell them I want this ornament here or that. Just do whatever you want, do your thing. You know, here's the track, play to the track, and I use whatever they give me.
Then we have Marina Koleva. Marina Koleva, she's a Bulgarian singer, music teacher, choir conductor. She is basically a specialist at an anthropological level of the traditional music of her country, of Bulgaria. All of these musicians who are, you know, from those backgrounds, they're not merely singer performers, they are living specialists of that tradition, and they know how it's done, and they can explain it to you, and they guide me through the process. So I think something that's very important is, you know, when I'm doing these arrangements and everything, they guide me through the process. If I have questions, I can ask them, I can ask her as a singer. So for example, we did Oy Lazare together. We're doing more projects soon, but so far the only one that's been released, you know, on the channel thing is, and we did it in a very archaic style. So without Western chord progressions and everything, and instead we used the bordon, the ison, the bordon or ison, however you want to call it. It's that thing that they do in the Balkans where the second harmonizing voice is harmonizing by holding the main note of the song, then dropping to the subtonic, then back to the tonic, in order to create a sense of melodies developing, melodies going downwards, melody has resolved. And the problem is, in the Balkans, it varies. Like when they drop depends on the culture. So some Greek islands, they'll drop and stay there for like 2 minutes, you know. So their feeling of the melodies going towards conclusion can be like 2 minutes long, basically. And so it depends on the culture. And so I was facing a problem. I was like, when do I drop? And she gave me the answer, basically. And, you know, she performed the bordon in the song. And so based on her voice, I knew when to drop down. So this collaborative process is really one where, you know, you invite somebody who's a performer of that tradition, somebody who knows the tradition, and any question you have about how to do the performance, they will let you know.
Dimitris Dallas, where do you even begin with Dimitris Dallas? I don't use the term musical genius very often. I will use it for him. He is one of the most talented musicians that I know. I mean, it's insane how good the guy is. The first time I saw him play the Escomadura from Crete, I was like, oh my God, he plays it amazingly. Okay, but like that's what he, I mean, it's not like he plays the lira amazingly. Oh, he does play the lira amazingly, holy shit. Well, I mean, okay, but like he can't be that good at the lauto. Oh my God, he's that good at the lauto or so. What can't he play? Nothing. He plays every Greek instrument in existence. And not only does he play them well, he plays them amazingly well. All of them. Like, you can trust him to play any Greek instrument and be able to do a phenomenal job at a gig, right? It's not like he's a hobbyist on the saduri. He'll play the best fucking saduri you've ever heard, you know, or the lauto, any pick you want. He plays all of them. He has them in his really cool house studio in Chicago. And I was in Crete in April and I went to the Stagakis musical museum. Stagakis, their family are the ones who innovated the modern Cretan lira. And Mr. Stagakis, very soft-spoken, very calm guy. He's not your typical sort of very, boisterous, kind of loud, energetic, kind of Mediterranean, kind of Greek guy. More kind of, reserved and everything. But I mentioned, oh yeah, I work with Dimitris. And he goes, Dimitris Dallas? He's my good friend. And it's like, his eyes went up like this, lit up. And he goes, he plays every instrument. I don't understand. And I love how, that's what he said. He said, I don't understand. I said, I don't understand either, man. I don't get it. The guy's amazing. Oh, not only that, amazing voice. He sings really well. And then you're like, okay, but like, can you at least suck at dancing? Like, can you at least be shit at dance? Like, amazing dancer. He's a fucking dance teacher and dance leader. My mom, who's a folk dancer, she saw him dancing on one of his Instagram reels. She was like, oh my God, he's such a good dancer. I'm like, I know so the guy's just great. Top quality Greek traditional music, authentic, that comes from the expertise and the source of somebody who is really knowledgeable about his craft of Greek traditional music, a real encyclopedia of Greek traditional music, basically. He knows it, and I'm just so happy that, thanks to him, the Greek music on this channel is of the highest possible quality, essentially.
Julai Vitraniuk Yulia, I suppose, but Julai is her artist name. She's on the Rosna Livada, she's on the Slavic songs of the Varangian saga. She is also a Ukrainian artist. She's well known outside of Ukraine. Also in Ukraine, she's quite a recognized folk singer. She's very well known there. And in Poland, I talked to some people there, and some people told me, oh my God, Julia Vitraniuk, you work with her. She does workshops here teaching the white voice style to other women. And of course, I've talked in the Slavic Epic Talking about the concept of the white voice. The white voice is a vocal style that maps out almost perfectly with the Slavic ethno-linguistic family, and it consists of a family of interrelated vocal styles with a very bright, full-throated singing style. Most musicologists that I know would put even Bulgarian singing styles and everything within that category.
Yusuf Nasser. Yusuf is an Egyptian singer, and he specializes especially in the Sufi sort of styles of chanting and everything. And one thing that I have to note, because we talked about Stefanos Krasopoulos, we talked about Dimitris Dallas, we're talking about Yusuf Nasser. Much of the music that you hear on this channel are improvisations by them. One thing that must be understood is that in the modal traditions of that region of the world, this shared language of the Makamic modal traditions, musicians are composers themselves. It's never a case of here's a music where there's no sheet music. People keep, do you have the sheet music for like this? There's no sheet music in those traditions. It's all by ear, because Western classical musicians, bless their soul, they're amazing musicians at their own craft. They do their style perfectly, but most of them, they cannot function without written scores, because in classical music, it's the composer who decides how the performance is going to go. They sit down and they go, they will decide every ornamentation, who plays which note, when, in which manner, everything is written down already. So the correspondence between the written score and, the final result, like the performance is already on paper, basically, in much of sort of the canonical corpus of classical Western music. And so they're trained to rely entirely on the written score. And it creates this sort of ethnocentric, and I don't mean ethnocentric, it's not that they're racists, but they come to folk music and they go, oh, where's the sheet music? We don't use sheet music. You just have a melody that goes ta 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 ta, and then it's up to the musician to interpret it however way they want. And because of this, they're also very good at improvisation. These people can improvise 30-minute performances on the spot, and just like go ahead and they'll improvise. They don't need any pre-existing. They'll just come up with a melody and improvise. One thing that I want people to really understand, that I hope people really understand from this video, when you're listening to the music on this channel, it's normally pre-existing melodies that I didn't come up with, and I just give it to people from that culture or people who studied that culture to perform, or it's me stitching together original compositions by taking 30% from a song and 30% from another song and basically making a new song out of it, or many parts of my songs are entirely created, the melody completely, by my colleagues and collaborators. And Fraser Fifield, or Fifield, I'm not sure. So I'm pretty sure it would be Fifield because he comes from Fife, Scotland. And since it's pronounced Fife, I'm pretty sure his family name has to, maybe I'm wrong. But Fraser Fifield, Scottish flute player primarily, incredibly talented. So far, at the time of uploading this video, only one of our collaborations is up. I've already like booked him for like 5-6 other recordings. The guy's amazing. He's such a great musician, and he has a very good grasp of the modal aspect of Celtic music. As I've talked about before, that whole ornamental, oriental sounding kind of feeling that a lot of Eastern traditions have, it's because they are modal traditions. Modality is a musical framework where you center primarily only on the main melody instead of harmonies and stacking different notes and doing, you know, different melodies at the same time, the way that Western European classical music typically does. And so when you only have one melody, well, you want to articulate that melody. And so it creates these very sing-songy, very articulated, ornamented melodies. And European music used to be entirely modal for most of its history. And more recently, it became tonal. Out of the centers of the academic, educated musical centers of Western Europe rose the tonal system that is about creating simultaneous harmonies, stacking different notes at the same time, which often comes synonymous with simplifying the melodies themselves to give more prominence to the harmonic vertical mixtures. But the peripheries of Europe adopted the tonal system more late. So when you're at the peripheral parts of Europe, like Scandinavia or the British Isles, for example, especially Ireland and Scotland, they adopted the tonal Western harmonic system far later. Therefore, you know, Iran adopted Western harmony earlier than many villages in Ireland. Because of this, Irish and Scottish music retain a very strongly modal character, and I stitch together folk melodies from other folk melodies. I take some notes from this melody and some notes from that melody, and I tell him, go crazy with the ornamentations and the modal aspect and everything. And when you listen, you know, to the original, like to the plain melody that I sent him, versus how he gives it life. Wonderful musician. Anyway, listen, there are so many other collaborators that I can talk about. I've worked with a lot of people over the years. I unfortunately cannot mention all of them in this video, or this video will end up being 5 hours long. You know who they are if you look at the descriptions and everything, and you can find them, you know, and learn more about them. They're incredible musicians, and they are the ones who make the music of this channel possible. And I cannot stress this enough. I never did this channel for the glory, and I hate the fact that so many people credit everything that happens on this channel to me, to my genius, to my skills. I barely have any musical skills. I can barely sing. I can barely play instruments. The actual talent goes to those people. I've said this over and over again in so many of like my milestone subscriber videos and everything. Do not raise a glass to me, raise a glass to the traditions. The sounds that you are hearing are brought to you by the actual carriers of the traditions. All I do and all I've ever done is make it possible for you guys to access those beautiful traditions, but I'm not actually the one making the music and bringing it to life. I hope this video helps to destroy that image of me as some great visionary artist who creates beautiful music out of the depths of his artistic vision or whatever other nonsense that flatters me and that praises me when I deserve none of that praise. And I hope that, you know, moving on, people understand that, yes, the channel is called Farya Faraji, but Farya Faraji is just the name of the guy who gathered the beauty, packaged it, and brought here. But the actual beauty that is being enjoyed he's not the one who created it. Anyway, I've rambled for a long enough time. Goodbye.